morning, and thank you all for being here today. Today we're speaking up for Texans who have suffered not because our bail system was too tough, or too lenient, but because it was too tough, but because it was too cruel and too unjust and too reliant on money instead of facts. We're here ahead of the governor's roundtable, where we expect he'll once again attack judges and lawmakers and try to sell a dangerous bail proposal that does little to improve public safety and does everything to strip people of their constitutional rights. And so let's be clear about what this package does. SB 9 and the associated constitutional amendments would make it easier to jail people without evidence they pose a danger. They would allow judges to deny bail to more Texans based on vague standards, and they would deepen our state's reliance on money bail that punishes poverty and fails to protect the public. This is not bail reform, it's a rollback of our rights, and Texans should not be fooled. So we anticipate the governor will once again use heartbreaking tragedies to push legislation that would not have prevented them. And let me say clearly, we grieve with every family that has experienced loss. We honor their shattering pain, but we can't allow real suffering to be used to justify a system that causes even more harm to people who are presumed innocent, who pose little danger, and who are jailed simply because they cannot pay. So this is not just about Texas. Across the country, we're witnessing the erosion of due process, people being detained and jailed, and even deported without fair hearings and meaningful legal protections. And in moments like this, we need to stand firm on our principles as Americans. And the Constitution is not a suggestion, it is a promise, and it doesn't break just because a politician wants to look tough. The governor's event today will not include the voices you will hear today. People like Seneca McQueen, who was jailed without bond and lost his family, his job, and his freedom. Or Sarah Knight, whose son Jalen died in a for-profit prison after being denied bail and shipped out of state from Harris County. These are victims too, and they are the human cost of the system the governor wants to double down on. So today we're here to call on lawmakers to stand up for fairness in bail reform, not just for public safety, but for justice. We're calling on lawmakers to reject the governor's detention without due process legislation, unless it is fundamentally changed. And we're calling on lawmakers to support reforms that ensure bail decisions are made based on public safety, not money and fear and politics. No one should be jailed because they're poor. No one should die in custody without ever being found guilty of a crime. And no American should be denied due process, not in Texas and not anywhere. My name is Nick Hudson. I'm with the American Civil Liberties Union of Texas. And with that, I'd like to introduce Ms. Sarah Knight.
Do I need to grab a mic?
Just speak up, yeah.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Prophetess Sarah Knight. S-A-R-A-H is my first name. Knight, K-N-I-G-H-T is my last name. I want to start this morning with reading a passage from the Holy Bible. It is Luke chapter 18, verse 1-5. One day, Jesus told his disciples a story to show that they should always pray and never give up. There was a judge in a certain city, he said, who neither feared God nor cared about people. A widow of that city came to him repeatedly, saying, "Give me justice in this dispute with my enemies." The judge ignored her for a while, but finally he said to himself, "I don't fear God or care about people, but this woman is driving me crazy. I'm going to see that she gets justice because she's wearing me out with her constant requests." Again, that was Luke 18, 1-5, the New Living Translation. I am that persistent mother, and Harris County, along with LaSalle, are my enemies. My son, Jalen Anderson, was killed by LaSalle Correctional Facility in Ola, Louisiana, after having 6 seizures and not receiving the medical attention that he deserved. He was transferred. They said it was due to an overcrowding. I got a horrific phone call in the middle of the night on April the 3rd, 2024, that my son was dead. And I drove 4.5 hours to identify his body at a funeral home. I want to talk to you all for just a few minutes about the things that transpired before the death of my son. My son was convicted of a non-violent drug charge. We used a bail bond company here in Houston that indicated to us that his bond was $70,000 and that we would have to come up with $7,000. And that they will work with us and we could do a payment plan. After getting out, he went to the first court date, only to be surprised to go back under custody because they said they added another charge. We had to bond him out again. So this time they asked for $60,000, which is $6,000. And my son went to jail for the third time, still again under non-violent drug charges. My son at this time was denied bail, and he said the judge said he was no longer eligible for another bond. Now, I believe my son was railroaded by the system that is designed to fail us. The moment that when you get into the carceral system and start dealing with bail bond companies, they are crooks, and they talk you into getting your loved one out, not knowing the consequences that will later happen. And I say this because I had a personal experience after my son died. I called the bail bond company to inform them of my son's death. I got a response with them telling me that they'll give me 30 days extension, but that I will have to continue paying for his bond, or they would have to charge my account because I'm the one that signed the paperwork. So now, not only am I having to deal with finishing up paying for my son's bail, after he died, I had to pay 2 more payments. My son's bail bond, but I have to do fundraisers now and raise $15,000 to bury my son that Harris County does not help you out with. I believe the bail bond system is designed with the mindset of the only way you can get out of jail is if you're rich and have money. And for the rest of us that are poor and are looking and are lacking for not having enough to get out of jail, we're already having to pay the bail bond out when we get out of jail. But now the court system is telling us that we have to come up with money for an attorney as well. And if you don't have any money, then they're telling us that our freedom isn't worth anything. This is how I felt when I got off the phone with the bail bond company attendant that said to me that there was no way they could help me with the rest of the money that I owed for my son's bail. I am here to advocate. I'm sorry, guys. First of all, for no other parents to have to deal with what his father and I have been dealing with. Not just the death of our son, but also trying to figure out this moment, how to pay the bail bond company back what was owed, even though he was already dead. It has been 1 year since our lives have been flipped upside down. And I'm still having to deal with another step, which is having to raise money for a tombstone and to put his name so he can be recognized as a human being. My son went to Harris County alive and well, and he came back to me dead in a body bag. He left 6 beautiful children. He was a great father. He lost his life in such an untimely manner. And this jail is known for the medical negligence that they deny all of the incarcerated loved ones. Mr. Billy Davis died in 2021, and his bond was $25,000. But he was also transferred to LaSalle to at the end lose his life, and he has no one to speak up for him. So I'm speaking up for him as well. This wicked system forced me to open my eyes to all the terrible things that are happening to our children, our brothers and sisters, loved ones, and our family members are losing their lives at the hands of the wicked and corrupt human beings that have no regard for human life. My granddaughters will not be able to walk down the aisle with their father. My grandson will not be able to play with his father. Harris County has robbed me and robbed us, took Jalen away from us. I want to give a special thanks to Texas Jail Project, because through them I've been able to advocate. I've been able to be supported by a group of great individuals. And I want to leave you all with these final words. To any mother that is out there suffering, you're not alone. Your child has died in this wicked carceral system. I tell you these words. It is okay not to be okay. Take it one day at a time, and make sure that you keep the memory alive of your loved one by coming to functions like this to help spread the word of all the terrible things that are happening right here in our country, in our states, and in our cities. Thank you all for your time.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Seneca, Synnachia, McQueen, McQueen, Jr., and I'm a member of the Texas Organizing Project. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today. I'm a community leader and a longtime community activist in Harris County. Top organizes Black and Latino communities in Dallas, Harris, and Bexar counties with the goal of transforming Texas into a state where working people of color have the power and representation they deserve. What brings me out here today is the need to make clear that many bad bills in regards to bail are making their way through the Texas legislature as we speak. These bills will only lead to more incarceration in our state without adding any meaningful public safety value. So I want to go on history right quick. What does history show us? The bail system never worked. That's why we're here today asking for another reform. We're fighting against the reform. They constantly asking for reforms because the bail system don't work. It leads to more incarceration. It leads to more people being abused. If these bills pass, more Texans will be jailed pre-trial, losing their jobs, homes, and family, not because they're guilty, because they can't afford bail. Meanwhile, taxpayers will foot the bill for a system that prioritizes wealth over justice. I have seen for myself the criminalization of working class communities, particularly Black and Latino. I have also lived it. Folks, it's a vicious cycle. And history has shown us that far too many times a person's constitutional rights are flat out disregarded. Here's my personal experience dealing with the injustice of pretrial detention. In 1979, I was arrested for a crime I didn't commit. I requested bail. However, since I was on probation, for a non. I was denied bail. I was given a blanket denial of bond. As a black man in Texas, it felt as though my life didn't matter. At trial, I was represented by a court-appointed attorney who offered a completely incompetent defense. Specifically, he tricked me into waiving my right to a jury trial, and he failed to call or subpoena my one only witness that I had for my defense, who happens to be my alibi witness. Later, he said in the affidavit, when I challenged it, that he decided not to call my witness as a part of his trial strategy. What type of trial strategy is that? Had I not been pre-trial, would have been able to keep my job, afford private legal counsel, and I believe that if that had been the case, I would not have spent some of the best years of my life as a man and a father in prison, nor would I be standing here today. Though many other people locked up in jails across Texas and across the country are not denied a bond like I was, when a judge sets a cash bond for someone who has no ability to pay it, the effect is no different. This might as well be a no bond. I don't want more people to be trapped in the dire situation I was in. People deserve their rights to be respected, and people deserve to access to justice. As simple as that. Short-sighted, reactionary, anti-bail bills like the ones making their way through the Texas legislation right now only restrict our constitutional rights further, while not providing a framework for truly reducing crime to keep our neighborhoods safe. All Texans deserve a safe place to call home and to have our fundamental rights respected, no matter our age, race, gender, preferred language, or background. With that, I want to say thank you to everyone. Again, my name is Seneca McQueen, Jr., Texas Organizing Project in the House. Thank you. And I will pass it over to Roshan Justice.
Good afternoon. My name is Roshan C. Evans. That's ROSHAWN. I am the co-founder and organizing director of the Pure Justice Organization, where we work to bring fairness and equity to the criminal legal system. Bail transformation is one of our #1 priorities because we understand a few primary issues dealing with the bail and bad bail bills. And one, that is the willingness to ignore and virtually eliminate a core principle of being presumed innocent until proven guilty. Two, a blatant imbalance of unfairness by saying the allegations of the accuser is more important than the due process of the accused. Three, the overwhelming fear-mongering and the assumptions that those accused of a crime and are on bond will commit another more egregious crime, and this is not rooted in fact or in data. Number four, the willingness to deny individuals their freedom for a fictitious narrative of safety when we all know that jails do not keep communities safe. Now, I am an impacted citizen, and I've lost lots of time behind bars, behind bad bail laws. Not because I was guilty of what I was accused of or even a danger or threat to society, but because a bad bail bill presumed my guilt behind an accusation and took away my due process. I've watched plenty of my friends and others inside waiting pre-trial and held behind bars simply because they were also presumed guilty behind an accusation that took away their due process. Fortunately for me, I didn't lose my life while I was waiting pre-trial in the county jail, or I didn't lose any family members. But while sitting in pre-trial, I've watched other people on pre-trial with me lose their lives. I've also watched others waiting pre-trial lose parents, kids, grandparents, and other loved ones. And for these individuals, I don't know what part is the saddest, them not being with their family when they all just lost a family member while they are incarcerated sitting due process, or them not being able to attend a funeral because they are still sitting behind bars waiting due process, or them even having to grieve inside the jail because of a bad bill. Now, I don't want to take anything away from crime victims, because I can only imagine the hurt and the pain someone feels when they lose a loved one at the hands of another. And it is sad. But one thing I understand is that we have victims on all sides. We have victims inside and outside the jail, and we need not to forget that some of the victims, or some people are actually victims, they are just locked up, sitting in jail, and trying to figure out, how do I get out? Many of them, they are still waiting pre-trial.
Thank you all. I just want to say one more thing about the issue of detention without due process. We are seeing across the country people being detained, jailed, even deported without due process. There is a bill, SJR1, that's being proposed, which is one of the most radical in the country. For the first time in a state, in our nation, under criminal law, they would require denial of bail for certain categories of people. And it's an anti-immigrant bill, but all Americans and all Texans should be concerned about this. If we're able to automatically deny bail, all of our rights are threatened. SJR1 is a radical proposal. SJR5 is a totally unbalanced proposal. We're just working to make sure that we create a system that is both safe and just. Thank you all for coming today.